Welcome to the opening ceremony of 2024. We are so excited to give you guys a little energy reading, um, a little information on kind of the energy of the year and what we're stepping into in 2024, kind of some guidance. And then we're also going to do a beautiful tarot pull at the end to just kind of give us a little bit of messages from our guides and angels going into the year collectively. So we're so excited. My name is Tilly, and this is my girl, Lindsay, and we are both Reiki masters, coaches, channels, all the things. Do you want to add anything to that, Lindsay? Say hello.
Well, first of all, hello, Happy New Year. I can't believe 2024 is here. I know I don't know about you guys. I felt this way also in 2023, or maybe since like 2020 hit, but every time I say 2024, it feels super futuristic where I'm like, how did I get here? I don't know. It sounds so futuristic that it's interesting that that is here in the now. So I'm also really excited to jump in and talk about the numerology of this year, give you some reflection prompts, talk about really the energy that this year is so packed with, and then do a little bit of channeling, just like Tilly said. So if you are here watching, go ahead and leave a comment below and say hi. Let us know if you have an intention for this year, if you've picked a word for this year, and we can kind of support one another in the comments and just start leaning into the energy of 2024 together.
Mm-hmm. I feel really called to say, and maybe just sit with yourself for a moment and just feel, because I feel like we can already kind of feel what the energy is. I feel like a lot of us don't take a lot of time to really quiet ourselves and be like, okay, what is the energy that I'm feeling? But there's definitely been a shift in energy. And so maybe just taking a moment to like kind of get quiet and just really feel the difference in the energy of this year as opposed to last year, and kind of even when you are looking into the future of this year, like what kind of happens in your body and where you feel it in your body. I feel really called to bring that into the space of just kind of sitting with yourself quietly and being like, okay, when I think of this year coming up, where do I feel it and what does it feel like? And just getting really quiet and maybe journaling about that, because you are your own best channel. So we can channel for the collective and channel all things, but it's a really beautiful practice to be like, okay, what does this year feel like for me? And yeah, for me, it feels really expansive. Like when I think about it, my body is like, I feel like big. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. And I love that reflection prompt so much. There's something about the energy of 2023, even when I was leaning into it, it felt like, to me, it was this adventure energy. It was kind of like, ooh, this is going to be a wild ride, like a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And it just felt highly like dynamic and exciting. And it was a very dynamic year for me. But the year 2024, has a little bit more of like a gravitas to it. There's an energy that when it's like moving through my body, it also feels very expansive, but it also feels very low. I don't even know how else to describe that really, but I was journaling a little bit yesterday on New Year's Eve, just kind of talking about some of my personal intentions for the year 2024. And I pick a word for the year every year, and I let it come to me. It's not a word I like search for or I really even intentionally choose. So I thought I had my word, and then when I was journaling, a whole other word that I was like, interesting, like I didn't think that was going to be the word, like came in so strongly. And the word for me is humility. Humility is my word for 2024. And it is so interesting because, again, it's like, oh, I didn't even think that that's a word that I like needed. It wouldn't be a word that I'd like think of or choose. But when it landed in my body, it felt so true. And I was journaling about how this year I want to be so low to the ground. It's like I literally want to have, this is what I was channeling this, but I was like, I want to have one ear to the earth, like one ear on the ground and one ear to the sky. And it's like, I was just having this whole vision of one hand on my heart, and kind of the other one to the ground, and just listening, like listening so intently. And there's something about that low to the ground, like that depth feeling that's exciting, but that's just really full of listening. So there's something about humility and like kind of humbling oneself in a way to just be really like, yeah, I don't even know how else to say it. I'll just keep repeating myself, being very low to the ground. It just feels very like a sacred kind of energy. that feels really different than 2023. So that's how it feels in my body personally. But it'll be interesting to see for each of us as well when we're leaning into it of, does it feel a little bit more airy? Does it feel a little bit more like centered in some other part of the body? It's a beautiful,
I
it's a beautiful prompt.
I just have to laugh at that just a tiny bit because it's so interesting going into the year with the dragon, because that is actually one of the deepest, that is actually a shadow aspect of the dragon, is being very in their ego and
Mm,
very I know and very confident and very just like I am here. So it's like as you're saying that, I'm like, that is going to be such a practice for this year, because it's going to be like the actual energy of the dragon brings a very opposite energy. And it's actually, yeah, it's like one of the shadow tendencies for the dragon to be way in their ego and very like, I know best and da da da. So I love, like when you said that you chose that word, I was like, wow, that really is going to be probably the deep teaching of the year for all of us.
yeah.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. I love that. Just inviting in that balance, I guess, and just remembering like how to stay centered, how to like hold the center when you're feeling all of this power and the might of the dragon, and then also being very like, yeah, just like remembering where we started and how we got to this point, or remembering like the intention underneath it all is going to be really
Yeah.
beautiful.
We're so excited. Okay, let's dive into the numerology of the year. So there's actually two numbers we're really playing with this year, and one of them is 8, as Lindsay was saying. 8 is if you add the numbers together, so it's 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 equals the numerology for the year. So that's how we came up with the number 8. And then also the year 2024 is actually the beginning and ending of a 12-year cycle. So when we're working with 12s, it would go 12, 0 to 12, 12 to 24, 24 to 36. So those 12-year cycles, is that 36? Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Math. All right. So yeah, so we're gonna be playing with these two numbers and what those two numbers really mean for this year, because there is the year 8, and then there's the bigger cycle that is also closing and a new chapter beginning. So we're really excited to dive into those. And Lindsay's gonna give us a little 8 magic.
Yeah.
I love your description of 8. I think it's so fabulous. So
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I love the number 8. So 8, what a powerful number. I am so excited to be channeling her here. The number 8 to me is a highly feminine number. 8 is the divine feminine. Even the shape of 8, if you think about it, just like is very curvy and very it almost looks like the shape of like the symbol of the goddess, if you've seen that kind of shape before. Um so it's highly divinely feminine. And what I mean by that is 8 is a number that talks about creation. It talks about abundance. It's a number that can talk about giving, but also receiving as well. And the way that I kind of like to sort of like depict this is if you take the number 8 and you flip it on its side, it becomes the infinity symbol, right? So the symbol of infinity really represents flow. It represents equal giving and receiving energy. There's no start and there's no end. Everything is completely connected. And that's the energy with 8. It's, can you see how one thing is connected to everything and everything is connected to one singular thing? That's the energy of the number 8. And so it brings me this feminine energy. It kind of takes me back to how we used to commune in our villages, in our tribes, in our our communities as well, and how every single person in the community was needed for their gifts. And so before we had money and capitalism and that kind of a thing, we were all trading our gifts to one another. And it was often the women that were tying the community wisdoms and teachings, and allowing people to gather, opening their homes, cooking the food. Obviously, it depends on the culture. In some cultures, women were out actually hunting or gathering and preparing, the meal, or bringing the meal in. It's bringing everyone together, and especially the feminine representing birth as well, and that creation energy of bringing children into the world and going through that creation cycle. All of those energies are tied in with the number 8. 8 also, though, is a number that talks about karma. And the reason why is because one thing is connected to everything else. So that eight energy can very much carry some lessons from past lives, from future lives, from different time periods in your own life as well, connecting us to every single version of ourselves that we've ever been or ever will be. So eight is a number of karma. And of course, like, and I think the most common phrase we've probably heard with karma, like colloquially, is karma is a bitch, right? Like that's what we've heard. And so a lot of us can be very afraid of karma. We can have a negative connotation of karma. We can feel like karma is coming to get us, or that, it's like very kind of like a mysterious like force in the shadows that's kind of out to get you. And that is not the way that I see karma at all. Karma is such a beautiful blessing because it helps bring lessons back around to us for us to deepen our understanding of those lessons, for us to integrate even more deeply things that we really need to help us personally grow, to find fulfillment, to find joy, to find our passion, to find our purpose. We need the cycles of life to kind of come through us and then into our lives and then back through, right? We are designed to be cyclical, just like life is also cyclical. And of course, the feminine is very tied into those cycles as well, right? The cycles of the moon, the cycles of the tides, the cycles of the seasons, the cycles of, even in a day, women are on like a 24-hour hormone cycle, which is why sleep is so important to women. Not that it's not important to men as well, but hormonally, women need that sleep every single night because that's when their hormones balance out, where men are on like a longer cycle over, I don't know exactly how long, I don't remember, but I think a few days or maybe a week. So just kind of something interesting to feel into with that number eight. But the last thing I want to add with the number eight is that eight represents unlimited potential and limitless possibilities, right? It's that infinity symbol. If you can just for a moment close your eyes, and I just want you to imagine infinity. Feel into infinity. Just notice if there's a particular image that comes up when you think of the infinite. Notice if there's a particular feeling that comes up with the word infinity or infinite or limitless. And if that could start to take form, could start to take shape, even if it's very abstract, just notice how that begins to crystallize in your mind. It's so hard to comprehend the infinite, infinity. It's something that our mind can't even really wrap itself around because we've really never experienced it in a linear 3D way, right? The infinite doesn't take many forms that we can tangibly hold on to. And this is really fascinating because I think this energy of infinity is going to be something that we are playing with this year. Infinity can become malleable. Infinity can become moldable in many ways. It's almost like infinity is like a piece of clay, and we can sort of be like, okay, like in the infinite realm of possibilities, how can I create with the flow of the infinite? How can I tap into limitless possibilities and almost know that I can navigate the flow a little bit? I know the image that comes up for me when I think about infinity is space, like outer space, the cosmos, like the great beyond, right? It's just seeing forever, as long as you can possibly see, imagining traveling at the speed of light for years and never reaching the end of the infinite cosmos, right? At least to our knowledge right now. And so I imagine myself when I'm playing with limitless possibilities, when I'm playing with the infinite, that I am traveling through space. And I get to kind of decide, okay, if space is this wide and this infinite, which direction do I feel called to go into? I don't know what is all the way in the future of infinity, right? I can't see. It's dark. Like, yeah, there's some stars and some planets and like, some things I can see. But if I'm going forever and ever and ever, if anything is possible, if the space that is around me is totally infinite, what do I want to create in the now, right? What do I want to like pull through from these limitless possibilities and craft it and mold it here in the now. It's a beautiful thing to consider. And I think that those limitless possibilities of taking the glass ceilings off of our perceived success or our perceived, limits in many ways is going to be so instrumental in what we create this year. So that's what I think of when I think of the number 8. I think of flow. I think of the divine feminine. I think of karma and how one thing connects to absolutely everything else. And I think about the energy of infinite, limitless possibilities this year and seeing how we can flow with that energy, just noticing whether that intimidates us, whether that excites us, maybe a little bit of both, right? And just exploring where our power lies in the vastness of those possibilities. That's something really interesting to play around with. But Tilly, do you have anything to add with the number 8, or what does 8 sort of mean to you?
Honestly, like the only thing I'm really getting is like the vision of like a roller coaster going really fast and things changing quickly. Like, oh, we're going this way. Oh, now we're going this way. Now we're going this way. Now we're up. Now we're down. And like just very like really fast change. Things changing very quickly. And I think I also just with the number 8, I get a lot of like just things just really going quickly, and also things happening like I don't like unexpectedly shifting from like really quick. Like you think you may be going on this path right now, but it's like you have no idea which path is. It's kind of the energy I'm getting from 8, which is really interesting. And it kind of brings us also into the number of 12. So are you okay if I start talking about 12 now?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if we think of things happening in 12, so we think of like, and 12 being like a secular number. So if you think of there's 12 months in a year, there's 12 hours in a day, there's 12 signs in the zodiac, there's 12 in the Chinese zodiac, there's 12 Chinese zodiac. So we're actually back here in the year of the dragon, which hasn't happened in 12 since 12 years ago in 2012. And so when we think of the cycles in that way, we're actually beginning, I was telling Lindsay, like we're not beginning a new chapter this year, we're actually beginning a whole new book this year. So it's like if books are coming in, like let's say there's 12 books, we're in, and if it started in 2000, so there's 2012, 2024 is like a whole new book in the series. So what has been happening in the last 12 years, we were kind of I was looking back and I was like, Instagram like officially came out to everyone in April 6th, I believe, of 2012. I know it came out before that, but it was officially out to everyone. So when we think about these last 12 years with social media, Instagram, all these things that have happened, we're closing a cycle and we're also beginning a new cycle. And it's interesting that I think AI will probably become very online this year. Like this will be a year of like, and also maybe even a decade of AI now that we have it. It's like going to be a new thing, and how that's going to change the world. That's going to change the way we work. That's going to change the way we play. That's going to change the way we teach. That's going to change the way everything happens. And so when we're working with it, like this new energy, it's like we are going to be stepping into something very different this next 12 years. And so it does feel like a change. Like you think you're going this way. Think about where you thought you were going before smartphones came out, like, oh, I thought I was going this way and I thought this, like that's the level of technology that we're switching to from this to AI. And so things that you think that your world may be, or this path that you're going, like that may not even be a job anymore after AI comes out, or, that might not even be a thing. And there could be something, a new opportunity that you don't even know. Like maybe you're designing fashion for AI or something, like you have no idea. So I just want to say, this is going to be very much changing everything this year. Like the energy is going to be very fast moving. And so there's this thing of, if you think you know who you are, you think you know your past, be open to it completely changing. That's kind of the energy that we're feeling. And like I said, this is just the start of a 12-year cycle. So it's over the next 12 years that we're doing these like huge changes in humanity, in medicine, in technology, just in general, the way we heal could be completely different. So just really being open to the way, when Lindsay says like infinite possibilities, yeah, like you have no idea what could even be in store for you. So just being prepared to not be prepared. If that makes sense. Like being prepared for things to change. Like the best thing you could do right now is work on being adaptable, because that's really the energy that's gonna flow
Yeah,
this year.
completely. I keep seeing the Eight of Wands card from the tarot in my mind's eye. And all oh, perfect. It was right here in my deck. So this is the Eight of Wands card. And I keep seeing it in my mind's eye. So there's all these wands, but in the traditional tarot deck, this is the only tarot deck I brought with me because I'm traveling. But in the traditional tarot deck, there is a chameleon on the Eight of Wands. And I keep thinking about that chameleon this year. Because the Eight of Wands energy is very fast paced. It talks about momentum and movement. In another deck I'm thinking of called the Modern Witches Tarot deck, in the background, there's someone riding a motorcycle and riding it very, very fast, like throttle all the way down. And that's Eight of Wands energy. It's a lot of air and fire energy of like, you think when you think of fire and air together, it's one teeny tiny spark that you blow on it and it becomes a raging wildfire very quickly. And I think that's what's happening for each of us energetically. There's a lot of growth, a lot of momentum, a lot of movement this year, but you don't necessarily know what direction the wind is going to blow you in. Right? It's not like a concentrated airflow. It's sort of like first the air is going to go this way and then you're going to get blown this way and that way. And that's why the chameleon is on the Eight of Wands card, is because the chameleon sometimes blends in, right? And sometimes it stands out. So the chameleon, if you watch it walk across a rainbow like floor mat, right? It's going to be purple and then it's going to be blue and then it's going to be green and then it's going to be yellow. Like it's going to be all of these different colors based on its environment. It will change the way that that chameleon is expressing itself. And I think that that's going to be so true for this year, is that we're all going to be playing with our self-expression, especially because also in the tarot, card number 8 in the major arcana is the strength card, which is ruled by the sign of Leo. And Leo is the sign of self-expression at its fullest. It's ruled by the sun, right? So you imagine the sun illuminates everything on our earth. It's life-giving. It shows us what's what. We can see things clearly. And that is the gift of the Leo energy inside of each and every one of us, because we all have all 12 zodiacs in our being and our personality and in our energetic field. So the gift of our inner Leo is being able to express ourselves and play with that self-expression. And like Tilly was saying with the number 12, as a cycle is closing and a cycle is beginning this year. It's a huge, huge year for that reason. I want you to imagine how your self-expression might change if a huge chapter of your life, and again, not just a chapter of the book, right? If you're closing the book on a 12-year cycle, you're opening a whole new book. Are you going to be the same character in the next book as you were in the last one? Are you going to express yourself the same way you did at the beginning of the last 12-year cycle as you are at the beginning of this next 12-year cycle? Probably not, because you're older, you're wiser, you're more experienced, you've grown, right? So we're playing with that self-expression of, okay, if I'm leaping from one book to the next, this is my opportunity to try new things on and say, who am I? And I think this is going to be something that year 8 asks us to do, whether we know we're doing it, whether we choose it or not. I think that that's something that's going to be happening for us, is life, the flow of life, kind of, or the winds of change, so to speak, is kind of blowing that internal fire, all the things that we want and we desire. It's that wind blowing it out into life in kind of unexpected ways. But if you can trust that life has your back and that you are always co-creating with life. Life is responding to you just like you are responding to life. That's one of those cycles in that relationship as well. That's how we navigate the year 8, is kind of like Tilly, you were saying with the roller coaster. It's sort of like you can white knuckle it and be like, ah, or you can just kind of let go and be like, woo, and enjoy the ride. So I feel like there's a little bit of that energy here. And I feel like that 8 energy is really asking us to trust and surrender this year. So it's exciting, strange, and big energy.
There's one more thing I wanted to add about the number 8, and I forget who I was watching. I wish I could credit her with this, but she was saying that it would be really good for you if you could go a full day without talking, or if you could go to a silent retreat, because the words that you speak this year and the story you tell is, if you think of an infinity symbol, you're like looping the story. It's like almost like you receive your reality and then you speak the story, and you're like, so for example, if you're like, why is my why does my hair never work? Because your hair is not working that morning. And then you're speaking it back. And then it's like the universe is bringing more things back for your hair not to work. That was like such a weird example for me to say. I don't know why I said it that way. But it's basically like you're speaking it out and then you're seeing the reality. So you keep on looping it back. And so it's really important to be so intentional with your words. And some of us may be like, how could I not speak for an entire day? Like that would be crazy. Or even an entire week and just not say anything, and realize, first of all, she was talking about like how much energy that you put out from thinking and speaking and try to respond, and that you'll be able to hold your energy so much better, but also to be aware of the stories that you feel like you need to speak into existence. Like you need to be like so many of us are like, oh, I'm like, it seems like the economy's broke. And so we're speaking this thing and then it's coming back to us. And it's so this thing. So just really being mindful of the words you're speaking, where this is a karmic year, you're also putting an energy back, you're receiving what you're putting out. And so it's really like, as far as manifestation, it feels like it's going to be very like whatever you're speaking, be really, really mindful, because it's going to be like coming back and showing you that in your reality. And so this year, I think more than any other year so far, is to be, speaking this story. And especially where you're starting a new, like Lindsay said, like when you're starting a new book, it's like, okay, I'm starting the new book. Do I like, what kind of story do I want to this new 12 years to be? And really being intentional, not only with thinking it, but actually embodying it, living it, speaking that story. Because like I said, I feel like it's going to be very much coming back at you when you speak it out.
Yeah, totally. That just made me so curious thinking about that, as well as I wonder what story we were telling ourselves in 2012. Like what was really important to you in 2012? What were you wanting and desiring to create more than anything? What journey did you want to go on? And what was kind of like some of the main things that you really wanted to create and to experience? And then thinking about that, see kind of, okay, what did I learn over this 12-year cycle? What has my journey been like? I know for me, it makes me really want to go and find an old journal of mine from 2012 and just be like, what was I writing about? What was I scared of? What was I excited for? Like, what did I want to bring into the world? And it's really, really interesting to me because I remember that 2012 was the year. Let me see if I'm getting this right. Yeah, I think 2012 was the year that I like really, really wanted to fall in love more than anything. More than anything. That's like really one of the things that I was calling in, and I just desired it. And I remember being very focused on partnerships, not just romantically, but with my friends as well. And so like relationships were so, so important to me. And it's really interesting thinking about it that way because the last 12 years, of course, many other things happened. But in this particular just area of my life, as an example, I went through some of the worst relationships ever, but really learned what I needed and wanted in partnership and relationships. I also, not just with other people, but with myself, I went through some really dark, really difficult things kind of towards the beginning of this 12-year cycle that led me on a healing journey. And I started going to therapy and reading like self-help books, and also like found my spirituality and went on this whole journey. And now not only am I a life coach and I'm a healer for others, but definitely for myself. Like I have led myself through so much healing, not to mention that 2024 is the year that I am getting married. So it's kind of cool thinking back to 2012 me, because it's like, oh wow, like I remember the things that were really important to me then. And it does feel like this year is sort of like closing some of the things that opened during that time. And just getting curious about, what part did I have to play in writing that story? What part did I have to play in what happened next and the way that I experienced it all? Because yes, it's true that we can't control everything. We have very little control over many things in our lives, right? The unexpected happens to us all the time. However, I do think that we have more energetic responsibility than we think we do. So we might not be able to control it, but we can reflect on it and still ask ourselves, what part did I have to play in that? And I think that could be a really beautiful reflection for all of us to think about, and then be very intentional as well, knowing that this is starting a new 12-year cycle. Is okay, let me just take stock without judgment, without trying to force or control it. What's really important to me right now? What would I like to create in the next 12-year cycle? What is something that, when I'm thinking long term or like a little bit broader, not just today or next week or this year, but like, in the next decade, what feels important to me? What's my legacy I'm creating over this next 12-year cycle? Um, that's something that is really like feeding my mind, even just thinking about it right now. So it's going to be cool for us to think about.
Mhm. Yeah, it's going to be a big year. I think a lot of people look back at 2024 as a very monumental year in their life, of a year that there was almost like, I keep on getting this vision of like a before and after, like, how there's like something that happens, like, and then there's like a before and an after. And I feel like for a lot of people, it'll be a really big year.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, it's also the year of the dragon. So if you guys think about last year was a year 7. It was all about the mystic. It was all about, you know, kind of a little bit of a spiritual journey, and also the year of the rabbit. And so if we think of the rabbit's all about fertility. It's all about like kind of getting pregnant with things, getting pregnant with ideas and all these things. And it's also a little bit of a timid creature, it's kind of like, whew, that was scary, I'm going back in my hole, or that was intense, or whoa, blah, 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 blah. But the dragon, I feel like you is a force. Like you are the force this year. It's not like you're like, I feel like last year was a little bit like, oh, I'm like this and it's kind of scary and this is da da da, but like I'm gonna be curious and like that kind of thing. But this year is like when I see the dragon, it just like is very like solar plex, just like comes from the heart. And it's also a wood dragon, I believe. So it's like whenever I think of like the elements, I think of the actual element, like what are the qualities of like a tree, for example, where it is like very grounded and growing up, but can grow very quickly. And so I think there'll be a lot of growth, and there'll be a lot of grounded growth, if that makes sense. Like it's going to be from a very like authentic place, and also very, like this year feels like a celebrity year. I don't know how else to say that, but it's like a Leo, it's a dragon. If you think of those two things, they're very just like proud. That's why it's so interesting that you're like, it's like humility is my word. Because I'm like, it feels like a very proud year, like a very confident year. And so I do think on the kind of shadower aspect, we kind of need to be a little careful of like maybe being puffed up too big, or thinking like, we're better than other people, or even just just remaining, like you said, with humility, because it will be a year of confidence. I believe, I think we'll be feeling really confident to go after things and actually make really lasting changes. I think things you've been trying to change the past few years, you'll have the energy to go forward and change them this year with Year of the Dragon. Do you have anything else to add about the dragon? One more thing I want to say is that it can be a year of short tempers. So just again, being really mindful about what you're saying and how you're saying it, because I think that the dragon can have a pretty short temper, short fuse. And so if you notice yourself just like rah, like at people already, that's kind of a dragon energy of going into this year of just like being like maybe too confident in this thing, and so you're arguing or something, and just kind of saying things that maybe you don't exactly mean. So just really, there's a it just keeps coming to me of like a silent retreat or a silent meditation day, even a silent meditation, like just being silent for a few hours once a week, just to really be mindful about what you're saying and how you're speaking, because the dragon's very like expressive, and it can come out as fire and burn some bridges or relationships or things. So
Yeah. I think that ties in as well to maybe taking a social media break. I think a lot of people, especially in this day and age, we're so used to sharing and sharing and talking, and really like putting things out there for the world to see. And what would it look like if you kept your sharing kind of sacred for you, and just really being very conscious about what you're sharing and what you're not sharing. Not that you shouldn't share, but are you sharing because you want validation from others, or because you don't feel very connected without that thing? You know, like has social media, or I guess how has social media in some way become a crutch? Even being on our phone, if we're not sharing, we're taking in other people's shares all the time. And so that consumption can be a lot as well. So there's something about being on a silent retreat or a silent meditation where not only are you not speaking, but no one else around you is speaking either. So you're not taking in as much. So that can be a really beautiful practice for us this year. But one thing I wanted to add with dragon energy as well, and final note on the speaking thing is that I imagine dragons, instead of speaking, they blow out fire, right? So it's like you can blow fire to where it's needed and like kindle warmth, right? But you can also blow fire where it's not needed and then cause a bunch of like, it's like cause and effect. Like you will cause some kind of effect that maybe you didn't mean to create. So something to be aware of with the dragon. Also, I think the interesting thing with the dragon is that it can be up in the air, but it can also be down on the ground, right? And so I think that's going to be something really interesting to play with this year is I agree with you that the wood dragon does feel very grounded. And there's something about a tree that it can only grow as high and as tall as its roots are deep. We have to have those roots so firmly in the ground for us to be able to kind of go up. And so I'm imagining a dragon. I don't know why this is coming in my mind's eye right now, but it's like when we're trying to fly and fly and fly all the time and we never go down on the ground, like your dragon is going to get tired. You're going to be exhausted from flying. You're going to need water. You're going to need rest. You're going to need replenishment. You're going to need that grounded feeling of like, whoo, I'm safe. Like grounded earthly energy to me, or wood energy, a tree, is all about feeling secure, feeling so safe, feeling so exactly where you want to be and being like, I am here, I'm firmly planted. And so I think we're going to need to be mindful of when we're getting very creative and that like air fire energy that's like, okay, I'm going to fly and I'm going to go do my thing and I'm going to spread my wings and I'm going to like create and do. And like, I'm in the energy of this year, and just know when it's time to get back down on that ground and get really low and be like, okay, I'm replenishing, I'm listening. Like I'm taking that rest moment. I think for many people, there can be an energy of maybe burnout this year, of doing too much, of going too fast too soon and not knowing when to pare it down. So I just think that that's a balance that we're going to have to keep in mind. Again, if you think of that 8 energy, that infinity symbol energy, we can't always be putting things out. We also have to slow down and receive as well. So we can be pouring and pouring energy out from our cup without replenishing it, right? So that's something that was coming to mind. But dragons are very mythical creatures, right? They are very spiritual in many ways. Like I almost see the dragon out of the Chinese zodiac being the most spiritually enlightened, kind of magical, mystical creature of the zodiac. And so there's something about the dragon that really represents kind of self-mastery to me. It's almost like we've been all of the other animals through the zodiac, and the dragon is very shape-shifty as well. I don't know if this is coming up in mythology at all. Not to my knowledge, but I'm really receiving that the dragon only can become the dragon because it's been everything else. So the dragon can shapeshift. Again, it's kind of like that 8 of Wands energy of like, maybe I'll be this or maybe I'll be that. It's that chameleon kind of energy that I'm also feeling with the dragon, of like knowing that we are so powerful and we can fly so high and we can breathe like life and warmth into everything we do because we've been the rabbit, where we've been burrowed into our little hole and we're like, is it time to come out yet? Or like, or am I safe at home and in my little cocoon, and kind of creating things behind the scenes. It's just having that wisdom and that knowledge, which really ties to what we were saying about being connected to every version of yourself, that you're not just the you right now. You didn't just get here like poof, oh, I'm here and I'm like doing all these amazing things and all these dreams are coming true. Like honor the aspects of you, the versions of you that helped you get here, the struggles that you were going through, the lessons that you've learned, and help that be that groundedness of like deep reverence and respect for what you're creating. So that's what's coming to mind for me with the dragon, especially because I feel like the dragon's kind of elusive. It's sort of like, how did dragons show up in so many different parts of the world before there was the technology to share about mythology? And it's like, was it a dinosaur? And that's why they were calling it a dragon. But also, dinosaurs technically maybe shouldn't have been there yet by like science's knowledge. So, like, where did the dragon come from? It's just, again, this kind of like mythical, like, how, where was it? Where was it? How was it? You know, that's kind of interesting. So, there's that quality this year of like a little bit of magic and a little bit of like, ooh, what is this? Like, it's exciting and cool and fun, but it's also just kind of intangible in a way, or maybe a little bit shape shifty. And I have to admit, I really love that quality of the dragon.
Hmm. Dragons are also known to be very lucky. Like they are like the of the Chinese. Like they're like the luckiest thing. A lot of people have dragons at their weddings to bring luck. So it could be a very lucky year. Like you may be like, oh, like this is all happening, and then all of a sudden, like this lucky opportunity comes to you. Like I don't want to say like winning the lottery, but like it could feel like that. Like you could be like, whoa, I just like randomly lucky, like super lucky opportunity, very synchronistic, and it could totally change your life in like a really cool way, or like this lucky thing happens to you and you're just like, whoa, I'm like, I've got all the luck. So it could be, I'm not saying go like to Vegas today, but if you feel called, could could be your lucky year.
I
Could
love it.
be, could be. Don't quote me. Like, don't at me and be like, I went to Vegas and lost all my money to. No, no. But it could be, and it feels like it doesn't even feel like luck that you're trying to get. It feels like unexpected luck. Like, oh, that just happened. Like, whoa, I just got tickets to this amazing concert that this random stranger just happened to be getting rid of. Like things like that. Like just very unforeseen lucky events is kind of the energy I'm feeling. So that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always available for that.
Mhm. I even think holding the intention for luck and just expecting lucky things to happen, it keeps you open to all the luck out there. So I always tell everyone, I'm like, if you want to say something more of something in your life, journal about it. And so maybe even this year, journaling about, today I like luckily found this penny, or I luckily found this $20, or luckily this, like just noticing all of the places that luck are like showing up in your life brings more of it. So might be a practice for you.
I love that.
Yeah. Should we do a tarot card pull?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lindsay is an incredible, incredible tarot reader. She always brings the cards to life in such an incredible way. So I'm really excited. And last year, this tarot pull like changed my whole year. So I'm really excited to see what's in the cards for 2024.
Me
What do the
too.
cards have to say?
I know, right? So I have two decks here. So the first one is the Reverie Tarot deck by Constance Watkins. And this is the tarot deck we're going to be using primarily. But I do want to get a couple of cards from this deck as well. This is called the Divine Abundance deck, one of my favorites by Tasha Silver. So just in case you are a tarot nerd like me and want to know what the decks are, that's what they are. So before we begin, I really want to have all of our energy present in the cards. So if you wouldn't mind, you can join me by just closing your eyes for a moment and maybe just wiggling in your seat a little bit, making any adjustments that you need to really find a comfortable place of stillness as you begin to deepen the breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Taking a couple more rounds of this breath on your own as you focus on releasing and letting go any energy that is ready to be released. Releasing maybe tension in the body, maybe releasing a certain stream of thought or consciousness that is not here in the now. Perhaps releasing the year 2023. releasing the last 12-year cycle. Whenever you're ready, if you have not already, you can seal your lips and continue breathing in and out through the nose. Beginning to shift your awareness to the inhale, to filling up the lungs with fresh oxygen, this new beginning, this starting again, being so open to receive as you welcome in the energy of year 8, the year of the dragon, 2024. Inhaling in and welcoming all versions of you that you will become this year. As you settle into this space in between the past and the future, subtly, slowly arriving in the present moment. Maybe imagining roots growing out through the bottom of your tailbone, or maybe from the bottoms of your feet into the earth beneath you. Connecting with that earth energy, grounding you, securing you so tightly to this moment right here and right now. Feeling the sacredness of now, right now. And let this grounded energy travel up through the bottoms of your feet or up through your tailbone as it makes its way through the body, through your womb, your sacral chakra, through your solar plexus, as it passes through the safety and beauty of your heart. Acknowledging your heart and how you feel in this moment. Allowing this energy to continue traveling up through the throat, through the face, through the third eye, the seat of your inner vision. As this grounded energy releases up through the crown, opening you to the guidance from your higher self, from your light team, your guides, angels, ancestors, ascended masters, star family, soul family, higher self. You're now open to receive guidance from the collective, as long as it's in the highest good of the collective consciousness. We protect this space with holy fire, Reiki. Asking our wisdom to be reflected back to us through the cards. Whenever you're ready, you can take one big final breath. Bring in any small, subtle movements into the body if you need to. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and rejoin our call. All right, so I'm going to begin just shuffling the cards. And I invite you, if it feels right, to just imagine that you're beaming your heart into these cards, into this video, into this moment right now. Connecting our ether energy, our intuition, our heart, our soul with the 3D, with the world of form, and with these cards. All right. Here it is. So I'm feeling really called to, I'm not even going to say how many cards there's going to be. So I'm just going to keep flipping them over until it feels complete. Okay. That feels complete. Okay, universe, what's up? Okay, everybody's higher selves that showed up for this guidance. Love what I'm feeling so far. Okay, let's begin here. I'm feeling like there's one more card. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. So I'm going to show you each card one by one, and then we'll talk about all of them together and see the messages that are coming up for the year. And they're telling me two more. So perfect. This makes so much sense. Okay. 8 cards for year 8. Okay. So the first card we have is the Lovers card, card number 6. Really beautiful 6 energy. We have the Page of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands. Love that beautiful sun in the background. The 10 of Pentacles, sandwiched with the Queen of Pentacles. Then finally, we have the 9 of Wands, the 2 of Swords, which also showed up last year. So interesting that this energy is still here for year 8. And then finally, we have the Sun card, card number 19. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing about our cards here today is that they are sandwiched between 2 major arcana cards. And major arcana cards are indicative of a major life phase, a major life event, or they speak about the spiritual lessons that we are going to be moving through this year. And of course, the year is going to be totally individual and different for each and every one of us, but I am getting the sense that these 2 cards are the overall energy for this year that need to be talked about. So the first card we have is the Lovers card. Of course, the Lovers card is a beautiful, beautiful card that talks about healing. It talks about alignment, and it talks about divine unconditional love. So a lot of times when people look at the Lovers card, they immediately think of romantic love, they think of romantic partnerships, but also the number 6 is the number of relationships in numerology. So there might be a focus on relationships this year and how we're relating to each other and also relating to ourselves, especially when we're looking at that 12-year cycle. It's taking me back to what I was sharing with you all. There's something shifting for us this year in terms of what we know now and how we're embodying our wisdom when it comes to self-expression. Not only self-expression just in the world, but particularly in our relationships. It's interesting that we also have the Sun card because we were talking about the sign of Leo. We were talking about how it's ruled by the sun, about self-expression in general. So it makes so much sense and is so perfect that this card is here. The Sun card rules our self-expression, but it also rules our joy, our optimism, but also illumination, being able to see everything clearly. And because this is the final card we have in the spread, I'm thinking that this is probably the energy that we're growing into throughout the year, because the year 7, the year of the mystic, 7 correlates with the third eye chakra. Some people say it correlates with the crown, but I personally like to relate the number 7 to the third eye. That's what feels true for me. So take it as it feels right to you. But the number 7 with our third eye, with our inner vision, the thing is oftentimes we receive visions before they manifest in our 3D world. So we can feel a little bit crazy sometimes thinking, I just keep having this vision that I'm winning the lottery this year. Can't explain it. No reason why that would happen to me out of millions and billions of people. But like, I feel like that's happening for me. I don't know why I'm receiving the vision. I don't know what it means, but I'm receiving it, even though we have no proof that it's happened yet. So the energy of the year 7 of 2023 was kind of like that. I think a lot of us had visions of things that we wanted to create. I think we had visions of things that we were wanting to experience, whether we experienced them or not, right? I think it was almost a year where there's a little like shroud of mystery with the mystic. It's like looking into a crystal ball and you can kind of see what you want to see, but it's not something tangible yet. It's not definitive yet. And I think that that's interesting to point out, because I'm seeing that in the year 8 in particular, things are becoming a lot more tangible. Seeds that we've planted, again, with the rabbit energy of fertility and like growing things in our wombs, our cosmic womb space, the ether, right? Where there's still things that we're desiring to create that didn't happen in year 7. I'm seeing a lot of those things manifesting in year 8. And I think for a lot of us, it's going to be changing the way that we express ourselves in the world, but the way we express ourselves in our relationships. And we have the wisdom of year 7. We have the clarity of those visions that we've gained throughout the year. I think many of us are feeling very clear now about what we want to create moving forward. And like Tilly was saying, in a very authentic way, that grounded wood dragon, it's like, yes, it's creation and it's flight and it's breathing fire and it's like all the glory of like spreading out our wings, but it's because we have done the work, we've laid the right foundations to be able to fly higher, right? So that is what I'm seeing this year sort of being, is us getting into alignment. And I mean alignment is being in the right place at the right time. So there's a little bit of luckiness to it, but also alignment can be choosing what spaces feel authentic to you and making sure you're in those spaces, whether it's in your career or in your friendships or where you live in the world, or any other relationships, any other opportunities. It's the feeling of, wow, I am exactly where I'm meant to be and I can feel it in my bones. That's that 6 energy that I think we are really kind of moving into and playing with this year. So that is what I am seeing as some of the overall energies. And I love that they bookend our year. So let's lean into some more of the cards. So the next thing I'm seeing is that we have 3 Pentacles cards and 2 Wands cards. So the suit of Pentacles is the suit of the material world. We have the Page of Pentacles first up. So the suit of the material world, what do I mean by that? Well, the suit of Pentacles represents the 3D. So it's anything that's in form, it's material, it's something you can manifest that you can sort of hold in your hand or see in your life. So for that reason, the suit of Pentacles can talk about your career, what you do in the world, where you go to work every day, your physical environment, your reality. It can talk about your finances, your money, material goods and what you can pay for, like paying for these curtains or paying for this shirt, right? It's the finances. It can also represent our physical health and wellness of the body, because we're physical creatures and in the world of form. So it can talk about our physical health. And also the suit of Pentacles can talk about home, where we live, where we are, our humble abodes, right? And home, not just being the place you live, but environments in general, really the 3D reality you live in. So the Page of Pentacles, it looks like this energy, all of these energies are going to be mixed in all year, but this is towards the beginning of the reading. So I'm thinking that towards the beginning of the year, many of us are having new beginnings in terms of our realities. Our physical realities, I think, are we're again turning a new page in a new book, right? We're starting again, we're beginning again. And again, this will happen at different times and feel differently for all of us. But the Page of Pentacles, I often like to call the going back to school card, because there's this energy of being open to learn. And it's like, okay, I have something I want to create. I have something I want to manifest. I have something that I want to tangibly hold in my hand. So let me learn everything I possibly can about how to create that thing. So before we can do the thing we've always wanted to do, we need to learn how to do the thing, right? So there's that kind of energy in the Page of Pentacles, excuse me. There's a new beginning also in terms of when we talk about the material world, it's like, why do we want material things? Again, it's to feel safe, it's to feel secure, and it's really for us emotionally to feel so taken care of, like we have everything we need, that we are fully supported in the material. So we're on a new journey towards feeling safe and secure and like we have everything that we need. I think it's so beautiful, because in order for us to have everything that we need, we are going to need to embody our Queen of Wands energy. So the suit of Wands is the suit of our energetic body. It's a suit of our spirit, the suit of our inspiration, our creativity, our inner spark, our motivation, our desire to take action. It's something that's very intangible in many ways, but we need that inner flame, that inner fire kindled for us to take the action that will create in our physical world. So the Queen of Wands is someone that's very open to receiving inspiration. The Queen of Wands is someone who is journeying this path and is like, what lights me up? Let me see clearly and fully what serves my highest I guess, let me rephrase. It's like, what is my highest desire? What feels exciting to me? What am I passionate about? What am I inspired by? Maybe that is an indication of which direction I should walk on this journey because it's fulfilling to me. There's a little tiny it's a dog, but I'm actually hearing to explain it like a cat kind of an energy because the Queen of Wands is following something intangible. She's following your intuition. She's following that inner gut feeling. So she's not doing things logically, things she feel like she should be doing, or the things that other people have done to get what she wants or to create what she desires. She's following her inner gut feeling, her intuition above anything else, and is like, does this light me up? Does it make me feel inspired? I'm going to take this journey. So it's really beautiful with the Page of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands together, because I think it's really asking us in year 8 to get really curious about what lights us up. Trust that whatever we're desiring to create, we have to feel inspired. We have to call on our inspiration. I think we're doing things a little bit differently this year. I don't know if logic necessarily is the number one thing we get to follow, especially because in this spread, we only have one swords card. Swords is the logical suit. It's a suit of the mind and our conscious beliefs in the world. We only have one of those cards, and it's not something, it's the card even talks about following your intuition. So we'll talk about that momentarily, but I'd say the guidance so far coming in is, where do you want to be? How do you feel aligned? How do you know when you feel like you're in alignment? Where do you feel like you're exactly where you need to be and there's nowhere else in the world? There's no amount of money, no amount of other people's advice, like nothing in the logical that could take you away from what feels so right to you. Notice what those things are in your life if you have them. Notice what those things are, and then pay attention to other things where it's like, oh, well, if there's a better offer that came along, or like if someone paid me a bunch of money, I would totally leave this thing. I don't care about that. Something just to be like, okay, well, is that really serving me? Am I really in alignment with that? And then just get curious and be like, okay, well, what do I want to begin? What do I really want to create? If it's not that thing, and let's say it's your job and you don't really care about your job, if someone paid you more money, you'd go do literally anything else or something else, right? Maybe getting curious about, okay, well, what do I want to create then if it's not really this, if I'm not really lit up by this, and what does light me up? Let me just feel internally into that and then follow my intuition of what step to take next. When we do that this year, we are going to be creating the 10 of Pentacles. So the 10 of Pentacles is the highest expression of the suit of Pentacles. The numerology of 10 represents fullness, completion, the ending of a cycle. But it's the ending of a cycle. You can think of it as a graduation, right? So it's not like a sad ending. It's a fulfilled ending of, I created everything I desired to create, and I can hold it and have it and experience it and be in it. I'm really sensing with the 10 of Pentacles that so many of us are going to have our dreams actualized this year that we weren't able to actualize last year. In fact, I think a lot of us in 2023 had high hopes for creating things that really never came to see the light of day. And you might have been questioning even, why did I feel so guided to create this thing? I felt so intuitively guided to plant these seeds. Why is it not manifesting in the way that I imagined it manifesting? I think for a lot of us, it's because it just wasn't time yet. And maybe the world wasn't ready for what you wanted to create. Reality couldn't rearrange itself quickly enough to be as big as the vision that you had, because we had big visions in 2023. The year of 8, 2024, has an expansion to it where it can hold our dreams and our visions. And I think a lot of us are going to be manifesting things that maybe we kind of forgot about that we were manifesting, or we thought, oh, well, this didn't really work out for me, and it's popping back up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Or there are going to be new things popping up for you, new experiences, new relationships, new opportunities where you're like, oh my gosh, this really serves me. I feel so safe. I feel so secure. I feel like I have everything I need. This feels like it's in alignment with me. And that is going to give you that calm nervous system, that grounded, rooted confidence of, this is for me. This is where I'm meant to be, which is incredible. I mean, to me, there's no better feeling in the world than that. So I love that that's coming up in the cards. But we also have the 10 of Pentacles next to the Queen of Pentacles, so another Queen card. And the Queen of Pentacles is someone who's highly, highly creative. The two kind of creativity cards in the tarot are these two queens, among others, but in the minor arcana, it's these two queens. So this Queen of Wands is creative in thought, creative in intuition, creative in spirit, creative in vision. It's like we were talking about with closing your eyes and trying to imagine infinity, trying to imagine the infinite or limitless. What comes to mind? That is the Queen of Wands vision of feeling the energy of the infinite. The Queen of Pentacles kind of creativity is bringing that idea, that vision from the ether, from our imagination, and then birthing it and creating it in the 3D reality. So the Queen of Pentacles is amazing at creating job opportunities for herself, creating opportunities for more wealth and money and abundance, creating opportunities to feel safe and secure, and to have environments where she knows that she is going to be provided for, taken care of, whether it's by herself or by others. She is in charge of creating that environment. Also very connected to the body as well. The Queen of Pentacles knows that her body is her temple. Her environment is her temple. Her home is her temple. There's no place that's more sacred than home around her. And so she creates those very homey environments, making sure she feels comfortable, inspired, motivated, but she is, excuse me, tangibly creating it with her hands. So the two middle cards we have in the reading today are the 10 of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. So it seems like we have everything we need and we're going to be feeling very grounded this year, very abundant, very given to, but it's because we're choosing to create that. We're choosing to create that. So there might be some of it falling into our laps, but I think it's going to be more of the energy of like, yeah, it'll fall into your lap if you believe it will, if you want it to, if you're taking the steps to make sure that you're calling that in, being really mindful with your words, being really mindful of your thoughts, being very mindful of your actions. It's like all of these things are coming together this year to serve our highest expression. So a few final cards here, and I'll give some overall thoughts and kind of tie all this together some more. All right, we have the Nine of Wands card, and as you can see, there is a pirate on this card, and there are these 9 wands in the background, and he's holding one wand, one staff himself. And behind all these wands, you can probably barely see it, but there's actually a treasure chest behind all of these other wands. So the Nine of Wands is a card that talks about defending what you've built, defending how far you've come already, and really protecting your treasure. To me, the way that this is coming through, especially because it's a suit of wands, is this is protecting the vision that you've had. And I'm just really getting the sense this isn't going to be for everybody, but I feel like I'm talking to some specific people here, that 2023 was really a blow to your ego in many ways. I think there were things you really desired and really wanted that you were experiencing a lot of disappointment from 2023 that those things didn't happen. Even if it was like an intention you made at the beginning, like January 1st, 2023 is like, this is the year that I'm going to do blank. And you held that vision and you did the hard work and you were just so focused on it all year and it just didn't happen the way that you envisioned. This Nine of Wands card is coming to say, don't give up on that vision. Just because the year is over and you said you were going to do it in 2023, you've already come so far. You've learned so many lessons. You're still manifesting it. You've been manifesting it this whole time. It might have been that your vision was so beautiful and so big and so bold and so new that things still needed to be rearranged. There were lessons that you needed to learn. There were energetic blocks that needed to be cleared either by you or by the universe. We can't really explain how the universe works, how life works, and why, but this card is coming in to say, don't give up. Don't give up on the treasure that you're seeking. Don't give up on the journey. 9 is the number before 10. We talked about the numerology of 10 being completion, fulfillment. I have the thing I've been creating. So 9 is I don't quite have it yet, but I'm so close. I'm so close. Can I keep that inner motivation? Can I keep that inner vision alive? And can I just keep going and defend all the hard work I've been putting in? And I also think it's asking us to reflect back and honor the last 12 years, last year, all the cycles that you are kind of maybe starting to feel are wrapping up or you're going to be graduating from soon. It's looking back and being like, damn, look at all of those challenges I faced. If every wand was a challenge, if every wand was an experience, if every wand was a lesson, if every wand was a win, you can look back at all those wands and be like, that's a lot of wands. Wow, beautiful. And you still have one wand left. You're holding on to that ninth wand and you're like, this is the wand I'm in right now. Yeah, I maybe haven't, achieved victory yet, but I'm in a wand. I'm in an experience. I'm in a lesson. I'm in a cycle, but I'm getting ready to move through it. And I need to give myself grace to look back to say, I've survived 100% of all the challenges I've ever faced. I have learned 100% of the lessons life has ever thrown at me. I've done that and I'm still doing it. I will do it. And this is going to help move me forward. This is also bringing in some of that grounded energy of the dragon as well, of like, we can only fly as high as we're willing to like get low to the ground, stay humble, listen, pray, rest, replenish, rejuvenate, So there's that kind of energy with the Nine of Wands. Okay, final card. We have the Two of Swords. Okay, so the Two of Swords came up last year and was the card in my mind. It really stood out to me for the year 2023. The Two of Swords has these two swords crossing over the heart. And in the traditional tarot, it is a woman who's blindfolded and she has her arms like this and her legs are crossed. So she's like crossed and closed off in every way, but she can't see. She's blindfolded and there's an ocean behind her. There's a crescent moon out in the sky, just like this card. And the Two of Swords can talk about us protecting our heart. It can talk about us getting rid of the proof of the outside world and really tuning into the intuition. And so the Two of Swords can talk about being very mindful of our thoughts, being very mindful of communication. It's almost exactly like what Tilly was saying of how can I shut down speaking and receiving like so much stimulus from others? How can I protect my heart and go within to just feel? These swords, again, the Suit of Swords talks about our conscious beliefs about the world. It rules our logic, our intellect, our intelligence, but it also rules communication. So there's something about getting very, very quiet and almost blocking ourselves off from so much communication, so much stimulus, so much going on that we can get very quiet with what is true in our hearts. Especially because I think these swords, when we get really clear with what's in our hearts, these swords are going to help us kind of like clear a path. Like, when you're walking through the jungle and there's no path. So you have to get like a big machete and you're like cutting down branches and trying to make your way to like survive the wild. That's what the Two of Swords is giving me for year 8, is that we have to be willing to feel what's in our heart first, to get really clear on what feels true to us before we can clear the path and see the path forward. We won't be able to see it if we feel muddled in here. But when we get really true with what we want to create, what would allow us to feel safe, secure, and in alignment, like we have everything we need, like we're exactly where we need to be, how do you desire to experience that? Once that's clear, the desire is clear in your heart of which areas of life you want to feel that in, where you don't feel it right now, where you do, taking stock of that, reflecting back. This is what's going to allow us to take the blindfold off and be like, okay, now I can see, I have my swords. Let's start clearing the path, using my mind as a weapon of empowerment for myself, using my words and communication to help create and breathe life, just like the dragon, breathe life into what we want to create into the world, breathing that heart's desire out and manifesting it. So that is the energy of this year that takes us again back to our final card, the sun being fully expressed. The sun is also representative of the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is right in between our sternum and our belly button. So it's right over our stomach, like the organ, the stomach, our upper abdomen. And the solar plexus is this chakra that really rules our sense of self-worth, our sense of confidence, our sense of identity and belonging in many ways. The sun card also corresponds with our inner child in many ways and who we are at our core innocently, right? So there's something about us being fully expressed when our heart's desire is clear, when we're in alignment, when we feel safe, when we feel like we have everything we need, we can be fully expressed, right? I say this all the time, but if you've ever spent time with children, you know that when they're wild and crazy and screaming and laughing and running around and being themselves, it's because they feel safe. A child can only play and be fully expressed when they feel safe. Even to have a temper tantrum, right? In front of mom or in front of grandma or caregiver, whoever, dad, a child has to feel safe in order to express themselves, because if a child feels unsafe, often they'll be very, very quiet. They'll want to hide. They'll want to freeze. They will withdraw. So in order for us, because we're just big kids, right? We're just grown up kids. We're bigger, but we still have that innocent child heart. In order for us to be fully expressed, we have to feel safe. And so I feel like safety is being cultivated this year. A groundedness is being cultivated this year, trusting that you're exactly where you need to be, flowing with the events that come, and just trusting that life has got your back, I think is going to be the vibes. So I'm just going to get a couple rounded off oracle cards. Funny that I opened to Worth when we were just talking about the solar plexus, and divine flow as well with the number 8. Crazy that I was just talking about both of those things, and that's literally where I split the deck to. So I'm going to take that. But while I'm shuffling these, Tilly, do you have anything to add about any of those cards, or how is that resonating with you energetically?
I loved all of it. As soon as you pulled them all up, I was like, oh my gosh, all good cards, and 2 queen. Like, those are my 2 favorite cards. Like, whenever I get the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles, I'm like, I've arrived, I've made it. That's why I think it's so interesting, the whole thing with confidence, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of reasons to feel confident this year, which is like really fun energy to be playing with. Um, and then the other thing that I just keep getting is like something about retreats, like going on a retreat. If for you have never been on a retreat, maybe adding a retreat to your bucket list, and even going maybe a step further and going to a silent retreat. But there's something about retreats that's like either doing like a social media cleanse. It's really interesting because the whole first part of the year, I watched this thing called Monk Mode. I think you can look it up on YouTube, but it's basically this guy talking about how he got off of social media, he got off all these things. He basically dedicated like 6 months to himself and, you know, eating right, getting his exercise routine, and looking at spiritual things every day, and you know, learning something new every day, and just like all these things of just like really like kind of retreating from the world and going inward to like build this inner like his inner temple essentially. And so I don't know if that calls to anyone, or if you want to put a retreat on your bucket list this year. There's something about going somewhere, completely changing your environment, and going somewhere to work on yourself. There's something about that that I think would be really powerful in the year 8, is like just really going inward, like from all the cards that you were saying, like really cultivating this thing, because it's such, whatever you're creating this year is so authentic. Like, it's like the most authentic thing. And it's almost like you'd be creating something that like the world would be like, is that even like a thing? Like, it'd be like, I don't know, like a book club yoga retreat or something like that. Like, that's something you're creating that's maybe really outside of the box, or just very authentic, that the rest of the world's ideas, or even putting other people's like, would people like this, or how much could I sell this for? Like, taking all of that completely away and just really creating from this place for creation's sake. And so there's something about going inward and like retreating to really cultivate something magical this year that's very deeply rooted in authenticity. So I don't know if that speaks to anyone, but as you were saying that, I just keep hearing this message of like going in, instead of like creating to create for other people. It's like I'm creating for myself. It's really interesting because I just was reading Big Magic, which is an incredible book. If you guys have ever read Big Magic, that might be something to add to your reading list this year, because it's all about creation. And she's talking about writing, and she's like, for the love of God, please do not write to help other people. Like, nobody wants you to be like, oh, I'm going to help you with this thing. Like, the most helpful thing you to do is create because your soul wants to create that thing, or write because you feel like writing, or write because you love to write, like, or write because you want to know your own experience of the thing. But if you write or do something to like help other people, or other people need this, or it's so funny because so many healers are like, oh, I really want to help people. Like, that's what I want to do with my gifts. And it's like, that's not the reason to create anything, is for other, like, it's like create to create because you're born to be a creator. And so this creation energy is not like, oh, I want to create this thing for someone else, or I want to create this for people. It's very much like going inward and being like, what wants to be created here without anyone else's, like, what would I create if nobody was going to see it, and it didn't care if I sold it, and if it didn't this, what would I create? And that's that like deeply authentic rooted creation energy that we're going for this year. So however you need to get there, whether it's a retreat, a social media break, even going, I love going into my closet and just putting on headphones, just getting really quiet and just no one else is in there and it's dark. I love doing that. It's essentially kind of going back to your source. So that's really what I was getting from those cards
Mm.
is what you're creating is so authentic that the creation itself is fulfilling. Like it doesn't have to be anything or be sold for anything or make this amount of money. Like just the creation itself is so fulfilling because it's so deeply rooted in authenticity.
Mm. Yeah, amazing. So cool. And it ties in so much as you were saying that. I feel like that message was just so for me. That was hitting me so deeply, like, yes, totally. Um, but as one other thing that was coming through is I think it's interesting how many people I think have been preparing to take that step. Like I've noticed a lot of people, like I've been on a social media break for the last 2 months. I got very, very quiet, have created things that nobody will see. It wasn't for anybody else, it was for me. And that's a huge lesson that I was learning and working through was creating for others instead. Like, am I really creating for others? Or like, am I creating for myself? It's just an interesting thing that's been coming up. And I noticed as I started going through it, I noticed other clients going through it. I noticed my colleagues, like other colleagues, kind of moving through the same lessons. And I've heard a lot of people being like, I really want to take a social media break, or I really want to change the way I do my business, or I want to change the way I create my art, or the way I want to show up in the world. Like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And I feel like it's taken us getting to this point this year and like getting through the new year for people to finally be ready to be like, okay, I'm taking that step. So if that's something you've been thinking about doing and you keep saying, I really want to do that, or it'd be so nice if I could do that, do it. Give yourself the gift of that time, that quietness, that space in whatever way feels most authentic to you. But that feels really beautiful and really important.
Yeah, I also feel like adding in, even like with your body and health and all these things, it's like, why do you want to look like it's like, are you, do you, there's two very different energies between working out because you want to look a certain way and because you want to feel a certain way. And it's like, that's like the more authentic is I want to feel healthy. I want to feel agile. I want to feel like I have energy. And so that's instead of doing it to be like, oh, I really want to fit in this or size this, like it's just going about things in a different energy this year. It's kind of like that, almost like the ego of the dragon. I kind of understand like doing things out of ego is no longer the thing, and it's really doing things from the heart that are actually like, the word I'm getting is like no more superficial bullshit kind of thing. Like we're not doing things anymore for other people or for other people's um expectations, or what is this, like it's really just taking all that shit off and like, how do things feel when I do them? Like even like I'm saying, like if your resolution is to diet, is it so you can lose 10 pounds, and why is it to lose 10 pounds? Like, is that actually going to make you feel a lot better? And it might, and that might be the thing. Or could you be like, I actually, instead of being like I want to lose 10 pounds, could you be like, I want to feel more flexible, I want to feel more fit, I want to feel better in my body, I want to feel, like I want to feel strong. Those are different ways. And so that's just one example of the authenticity that I feel like is going to be coming this year. And that's why I really like that monk mode, because it's like, do you care to lose 10 pounds if no one's going to see you? But if you feel like, do you really want to lose the 10 pounds so you can feel better in your body? And so it gives me this image of going into the temple. Like, it's like we're going into a temple, or like I said, like a retreat, to like really find deeper value in the things that we're doing. What if it's not for everyone else? So it's really interesting energy.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were speaking about that, it just reminds me of this one card. It's a deck I don't even own. I think you own it, but it's I think it's the Shaman's Oracle deck, and there's a dragon that like has all these like coins, and it's like treasure trove or dragon's treasure or something.
Dragon word. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why that came to mind. Um, because it feels like there's this difference between a dragon having its wings spread and breathing fire and is like, I'm a dragon, like look at me. And then the dragon like having all of this treasure already. And it's just like, I don't know if this is what's on the card, but this is the way it's coming through. It's like this dragon is just kind of like sleeping and chilling, and like the treasure's all around him already. So there's just a difference between that, like being in your ego and being like, everybody see me, and that being dragon energy versus being like, who is a dragon when nobody's looking at it? Is the dragon breathing fire? Is it opening its wings and being really intimidating and scary? Or is that dragon like really sweet and soft and like nurturing its baby dragon, or like, you know, just like enjoying the riches of the dragon's life and like what that dragon has created or collected over the years? There's just a very different energy. And so I'm interested for each of us to get to know the dragon energy more and more and more, because I do think the dragon, as much as it is like this big mythological, like very exciting creature, I can't help but be like, what would a dragon be like in a cave when no one had ever saw it? Like, I imagine that dragon wouldn't necessarily be fierce because it wouldn't need to be all the time. And it's again reminding me of that chameleon energy of knowing when to be the fierceness and when to be like, okay, I'm like going back in my cove. So yeah, interesting energy for sure, but really beautiful and powerful and important.
Yeah, the word that's coming to mind when you say that, and it feels like kind of a sweet spot for the year, is quiet confidence. I don't
Mm,
know why that feels so like quiet confidence. And that really feels like a really beautiful sweet spot for like everything we're saying with humility and confidence and fire and all these things. It's like yeah, you do often see dragons in caves, and it's like unless someone's attacking, they're probably just like, I'm amazing with all this treasure and I don't need to go tell anyone about it, and I don't need to like show it off or anything. It's mine, and I know it's mine. So I really love that analogy and that visual. Thank you for that.
yeah,
Quiet
absolutely.
confidence. And it feels a deep, authentic, like really authentic. Like I'm like when I think of the end of next year, at least for myself, I just think of this thing of like, wow, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. It's not like, oh, I'm glad everyone's so proud of me, or everyone should be like, everyone's so impressed with me. It's like, I'm so proud of myself at the end of this year. And so I think I know Chelsea Kauai, she does this thing where she writes herself a letter about everything that she loves that she did the last, like it's as if she's standing at the end of 2024 about to go to 2025, and just the energy of how she feels. And that might be a really powerful practice, is writing yourself, you know, a letter of like, I'm so proud of myself for this, or what would make me proud, what would I be proud of myself for if no one cared? You know, if no one else was like, oh, I'm this, or patting you on the back, what would you be so proud of yourself for at the end of this year? So,
Yeah.
yeah, how fun energy. I didn't even realize that was the energy of the year before we got on the call. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's so powerful. I just want to show you guys some of these final cards that are also going to be, I think, just some keywords for the year. It's so funny because I opened up the middle of the deck and showed you divine flow and worth, and then you saw me shuffle a couple of times. And anyway, first two cards that came out were still divine flow and worth. So they want to be here, but it's very year 8 energy. I love that the worth has this tiger on it, which the tiger and the dragon feel like very similar energy in many ways. So we have both of those. So worth keyword this year, divine flow. Also, we have sacrifice. And to me, I love what the bottom of this card uh, says, that what we're sacrificing is illusions, and it's a sacrifice to love. So we're sacrificing our illusions to love. We're sacrificing things that we're seeing that aren't really true or authentic to us, and we're willing to let the things that are inauthentic go in order to have this true deep alignment, this true authenticity, this true alignment, right? And so we have sacrifice. We also have grounded. So we've already talked about this one many, many times. We're getting very low to the ground, being in the grass is really beautiful. So grounded is going to be another keyword for this year. And then finally, we have detachment. And I think detachment is so cool and so fun. I love that there's a woman on here riding a crow, because it reminds me of riding a dragon. And I feel like the beautiful thing with detachment is that sometimes we think we know what we want, but sometimes we actually don't really know what we want. Let me rephrase. A lot of times we think we know with the mind what we want. Like, I know what's really going to fulfill me is having $100,000 in my bank account. Like that is when I'm going to feel fulfilled, and I will not feel fulfilled until I reach that goal. Or what's really going to fulfill me is being in a romantic partnership with someone. That's what's going to be fulfilling for me. And that's what I want. But a lot of times we can think that's what we want based on a void that's happening internally. And so we're thinking maybe this will fulfill me. But if you've never had it before, you don't know. You don't know until you get that thing how it's actually going to make you feel. So we can have these illusions of what we want when in reality, what we're really wanting is just to feel safe and secure. What we're wanting is to feel abundant. So again, the difference between like feeling the creation of something, feeling what you want versus like thinking logically, well, I've seen other people be happy having this thing, so maybe if I have it, that will make me happy too. So detachment is really just reminding me of having an open hand this year instead of closed fists, right? Just having an open hand, and it goes with divine flow of flowing with the momentum of life, knowing that life is carrying you towards your highest and best all the time. And with detachment, it's just being like, okay, how can I flow from one thing to the next? How can I be all these different expressions of me and not be attached to being one thing or doing one thing or needing one thing? It's just like, I'm open for the experience of it all. And how can I not hang on to anything too tightly? It's almost like putting blinders on and only wanting to see one thing, when it's like there's a whole beautiful, when you take the blinders off, it's like, wow, oh my gosh, I was missing all these other beautiful colors and like moments happening around me. So that's it. That's the energy for the year. I think this has been really eye-opening for me, very inspiring. I'm really excited for 2024 in general. And thank you all so much for being here with Tilly and I, and flowing through this with us. I would personally would love to hear what stood out to you. If you have any reflections, if you have any feelings about the year 2024, the year 8, the year of the dragon, what any of those signs, symbols means to you, anything else you see in the cards, anything you feel called to share, please put it below. We'd love to hear your feedback. We would love to hear what you're calling in for 2024. Again, what your intentions are, or maybe things you are letting go of, you're sacrificing certain illusions. If you're looking for a community to share that with and getting very intentional about weaving your story, speaking your story into existence, you can start here now by commenting below if it feels right to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys for being here. And yeah, we are hoping you'll have a beautiful trip around the sun. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And the beginning of a new 12-year book. Fun. Okay, we love you all. Happy 2024.